Hello, friends, and welcome into NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey. Bleacher Report has cooked up a bunch of different big-time trade ideas, so we figured we'll have some fun and break down the trades and if they actually make sense or not. Number one, the Giants get Budda Baker from the Arizona Cardinals in exchange for a 2024 second-round pick. Now, we'll break down the contract details for both parties involved here for each of the players. The Cardinals would save $9.32 right now, $13.10 million after June 1st. You're almost there. You could probably wait at this point, but I want to give both numbers there. The number for the Giants does not change, or the team acquiring the player does not change at all, 13.10, although it's a bit of an asterisk on that front there. Budda Baker has been one of the better safeties in the NFL for several years now. He's got good tackle numbers in various years, good pass breakups, TFLs, sacks, interceptions. I actually think he would thrive in a Giants Don Wink Martindale defense. He is the perfect type of safety for him. The issue is, and why, Baker would be available for a premium pick, make no mistake about it, is because of the money. Budda Baker, not long after the season ended, went to the Cardinals and said, I want to be the highest paid safety, or you should trade me. And then it came out a while later that Budda Baker's requested a trade. So read between the lines, connect the dots, right? The Arizona Cardinals do not want to make Baker the highest paid because they are rebuilding. They're not a good football team right now, and Baker might not fit their timeline. So the $13.10 million you'd owe Budda Baker, it'd probably come down in year one to more like 5, 6, or 7 because you would be giving him a new contract and paying him upwards of 19.1. Maybe it's only $18 million per year. That is a lot of money to pay and give up a second-round pick, but I do think he'd be an awesome fit with the New York Giants. So if he does get dealt, the Giants are a really good and logical destination for him. So of all the players out there, please keep it somewhat realistic. No Aaron Donald, Patrick Mahomes, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt stuff. Name a player who you want to see dealt. It is the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, then take advantage of it. While the ad plays, let it. No one cares. Head down there and go name a player who you want to see traded. Trade idea number 2. Dalvin Cook to the Jets for a 4th-round pick. It's interesting because the Dalvin Cook release trade rumors have been out there for months now. The Vikings would save $7.9 million to the trade right now, but you're also after the draft, so for all these teams, you'd probably wait till June 1 because extra savings, $11 million, the exact number the Jets would owe Dalvin Cook this season. The issue for Cook is that the signs of decline are beginning to appear. Look at the average. 5.1, that is awesome numbers in 2020. 4.7, that's still really good. 4.4, that's not as good. The yards over expectation have begun to dip each of the last couple years. Running back shelf lives are short. Now, the pitch from Bleacher Report was, who cares about the shelf life? Aaron Rodgers has a couple good years left in him. Get more talent. Is running back how you want to add more talent, though? Is it? You have Breece Hall in theory back for week 1 from injury. Michael Carter, my guy Israel Abanikanda, Zonovan Knight, you can be fine with those backs. And with the investment you made in Breece Hall, is paying Dalvin Cook $11 million to be in a committee at best the route you want to go? I'm not so sure. In Minnesota's, from their standpoint, 4th-round pick's actually pretty good value. And they've got bodies. They re-signed Alexander Mattison, kind of a surprising move. Kenny Nwangwu's been their kick returner. Ty Chandler was a recent draft pick. Dwayne McBride. The numbers don't add up, especially if they're going to, assuming they will, it seems likely they're going to carry fullback C.J. Ham again for Minnesota to keep all of those backs. Something, hopefully not injuries, but something has to change. So will the Vikings trade Dalvin Cook? Y for yes, N for no. Make those predictions in the comments section. Trade number 3, another running back, Cordero Patterson to the Browns for a 7th-round pick, a very buy low scenario for Cleveland, who, look, the Falcons drafted Bijan Robinson, right? They have Tyler Algier. Patterson is not as important anymore. The Falcons would save $4.25 million by waiting until after June 1st, post $1.75. The Browns would owe Patterson $4.25 million. The numbers weren't as good for Cordarrelle Patterson in 2022. The yards actually went up a little bit, but the receiving yardage plummeted. Not nearly as impactful in that area. The touchdowns weren't as good. He was a touchdown machine. He had over 1,000 combined yards 2021. The Falcons figured out how to use him properly. But then they spent a first-round pick on Bijan. He's going to get the workload. Tyler Algier ran for 1,000 yards as a rookie. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. The Falcons are like, 1,000-yard rusher, who cares? Bijan. So you've got, legitimately, I think we all think Bijan's going to go for 1,000 yards, right? You have 2,000-yard players on your roster. Do you need Cordarrelle Patterson? Avery Williams can be your return man. Caleb Huntley can be RB3. And that's, I think, the value for Patterson at his age, unfortunately, probably isn't quite that high. The Browns, meanwhile, the role they drafted Demetric Felton for is basically what Cordarrelle Patterson has been. So, look, the Falcons can keep Patterson as the return man, although I think Avery Williamson can do that role just fine, save some money, and instead of putting Jakeem Grant back there or Jerome Ford or DPJ or Jalen Darden, Browns can plug in Cordarrelle Patterson. I don't hate that idea. I still wonder if you can get more than a 7th, though, in exchange for Cordarrelle Patterson. We have free videos for you guys all year long. Off-season, preseason, regular season, boring season. We've got you covered. Hit that sub button right now for more free NFL videos. Trade idea number 4. This one will go over well for some in the audience. Chase Young to Seattle for not 1 but 2 second-round picks. One of them would be a conditional draft pick. The Chase Young trade value is pretty tough to figure out. The money's pretty easy. He is in the 4th year of his rookie deal. The 5th-year option already declined. 5.32 saved by the Commanders. 5.32 owed by Seattle. Here's the issue with Chase Young. Rookie year, 15 games played, 13 TFL, 7.5 sacks. You're like, this guy's the truth. He's going to be a double-digit sack machine. He's had 1.5 sacks in 12 games since then. He's been banged up. He's mistimed. The next Bosa has not delivered in the past 2 years, and it puts the Commanders in a weird spot where their internal value for what Chase Young could still become is probably higher than what you'd be paying for a guy with 9 sacks in 3 years in reality, despite the draft pedigree associated with Chase Young. 2 seconds is probably fair. I wonder if either team would actually be willing to give that up. The Seahawks, though, are a fun fit. And the issue is they've spent a lot of picks on edges. Darrell Taylor, round 2. Didn't like that one that much. Maybe he has a breakout year. Boye Mafia actually did like that one. Derek Hall was a little overfamiliar, but it makes sense. Alton Robinson, Uchenna Nwosu. You have to be convinced Chase Young is your guy because 2 seconds is a lot to give up. But I think we'd feel better about the Seattle edge rushing room if they got one. It would also be a sign of commitment to Geno Smith because if the Seahawks struggle this year and they win, say, 5 or 6 games, they might want those picks to go up and get a new quarterback next year. So it's a fun short-term fit. I wonder if Seattle would have some long-term concerns there. In general, knowing it's a tough question to answer, what is Chase Young worth in a trade? Is it a first? Is it less? Way less? A little bit less? Sound off in the comments section what you think Chase Young is worth in a trade. One more trade idea. Kello Witherspoon, speaking of former Seahawks, Witherspoon, to the Raiders. Steelers get a 2024 6th-round pick. This one's a bit more of a logical trade idea because Pittsburgh's got options. They'd save $4 million with a trade of Witherspoon, and the Raiders would then pay the $4 million, and they've got issues in the cornerback room. Witherspoon's kind of had a bit of a weird career. Flashes in San Francisco, and then goes to the Seahawks and up and down, and then goes to Pittsburgh, ends up being great. He was actually signed by Seattle. They traded him away, and then was good in year one in Pittsburgh. Kind of got banged up. Wasn't as good this past year. They've got options. Now, what's interesting for Pittsburgh is they did just cut Arthur Mollett, their nickel corner. Now, Chandon Sullivan, Levi Wallace could play that role, and even James Pierre. They drafted Joey Porter Jr. They signed Patrick Peterson. They drafted the injured Corey Trice, who fell because of medical, but that could be a steal because Pittsburgh said F them medical concerns. Witherspoon might be extra depth. And you can make a very real argument that even though he's not a great football player, he's not a real number one corner. If he went to the Raiders, he might be number one by a big margin. I actually like Duke Shelley a lot. I like Nate Hobbs as a nickel type of player. David Long is former third-round pick. Amik Robertson. Ja'Cory Bennett in the fourth. There's probably some names you think are made up on this screen. I promise you they are not. Raiders need cornerback help. That's why I was convinced the pick was going to be Christian Gonzalez. That Tyree Wilson was fine. Don't get me wrong. It's a good pick. But cornerback's a big area of concern. I think that's a logical destination for any corner if they end up getting moved.